The idea of this YouTube channel, when doing the podcast format or even the formats before of teaching, was kind of always the idea to create things to help people with their mental health, and most recently to kind of be that beacon of light or that beacon of peace and calm for them, in the sense of like how Jack Cornfield is, of being a teacher, spiritual teacher, Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass, just these different guys that I listen to and that make me feel grounded. And that was what, and that because I heard from Rick Rubin, great music producer, how he was saying, you gotta create what you love. And it's like, I was thinking, okay, what do I like to listen to? And it's like, well, I really like to listen to spirituality stuff. And these guys that are very present and mindful and super calm, and that makes me feel that way. So I'm like, oh, I love that content. Let me try to create that stuff. But I've kind of realized that as I try to do that, it's almost like I have like a checklist before I record, and that is, am I in a calm, meditative space? And it's like I feel like I always have to be on, and I have to, be that voice for others, and to always kind of make sure that I'm in a good space before hitting the record button. So I have this like preset of ideas and things I must check every time before I hit the record, and that's not what I want to do at all, because I do this stuff, and I've gone back to the roots, is I do this stuff. I like to record, I like to write, because it helps me process my own life. And if I have to do that separately from this activity, I'm just doubling my workload and putting pressure to make sure that all of the things I do prior to recording are in check before recording. But recording is part of what gets me in check. So you see the dilemma? So I probably would say it's almost even a bad habit at this point, but I was, embarrassingly enough, I'll admit, asking Claude about it, the AI tool. Just saying how my intent with this was to be slow paced, mindful, kind of presence person, because I'm so deeply drawn to that. That's what I love. That's why I like Jack Cornfield and Eckhart Tolle, Thich Nhat Hanh, Ram Dass. If you don't know those guys and you're interested in meditation, mindfulness, spirituality, highly recommend you look them up. Alan Watts. These dudes make me feel grounded and connected. And that's why I like coming back to them so much, is because it keeps me in check. But if I have to constantly be in that headspace before I do this recording, it's like the chicken before the egg kind of thing. And that's why I've always wanted to do this stuff, because it's an extension of Eckhart Tolle, Jack Cornfield, and all those guys. It's like this microphone or writing is one of the guys. And I'm trying to get to a better place before doing this. And that's just going to cause me burnout if I constantly think I need to be on or ready to go before recording. And so that's what I was suggesting to the AI, because I just like to, I guess, be validated. And it was just saying, these guys resonate with you precisely because they represent something you're reaching toward, right? Not somewhere where you permanently live, not even close. I'm most of the time frantic, scatterbrained, and I think that's just why I love meditation so much, because it pulls me back down to earth. So if you already live there all the time, you probably wouldn't need them as much. Yeah, that's very true. And the thing is, the reaching is actually more interesting to listen to than the arriving. It's saying, like, for this podcast, if I were to just talk and kind of ramble how I'm doing now from this headspace rather than from a place of, the mindfulness and calm. Someone who's genuinely in the middle of figuring themselves out, who's getting fired up about, well, at the time I was talking about fasting research. I was looking that up. So it's saying someone who gets fired up about fasting research or whatever, someone who is scatterbrained some days and other days calm, that's a real person. Yeah. That's someone you can follow over time because they're actually going somewhere. Yeah, it feels more organic, more authentic. I would imagine, if I was always on in this place of calm, whether it did burn me out on the back end that you didn't see or not, there would be a price to pay. And it honestly makes me wonder. I'm going to look this up. So, Eckhart Tolle and I'm typing in Jack Kornfield. They always seem to be grounded. It makes me wonder, are they naturally this way or take the time to get in that space before speaking / teaching? And not to put these guys down, but it almost seems like they, honestly, hide a part of themselves. Like they don't let the world see them mad or frustrated, to stay as this idea of who to follow. Let's see what it says. It says, yeah, there's a real tension. I think you're onto something. Oh, look at me. The honest answer is probably both. They've generally done a lot of work, of course, and there's a degree of curation happening. Tolle especially. He talks about his own breakdown, the suffering before the shift, but you rarely see him flustered or uncertain in real time. It's almost always the perspective after the wave has passed, which is valuable, but it's also a very specific slice of human life. Kornfield is a little more willing to show cracks. He talks openly about his marriage falling after his monastery training, basically admitting that deep meditation practice didn't automatically make him good at being a person in a relationship. Yeah, that's being vulnerable. That kind of honesty is rare in that world, and it's part of why people trust him. Right. Yeah, because it's like when you see these guys and they just seem like almost mythical creatures, especially Eckhart. He, at least in the public eye and the videos you see him in, never comes across as having any problems. He's always calm. And it just makes you wonder, is that really fully... And I say this, I don't mean to be disrespectful, because Eckhart Tolle has changed my life 1,000%. I go to his teachings, his writings almost every single day. He is an amazing teacher and has, as this temporary incarnation that he is, has done a beautiful job at restoring so much peace and consciousness to many people. But at the same time, like this says, this teacher archetype almost requires some amount of persona maintenance. There's a stage, there's an audience expecting a certain thing, and even the most authentic teachers are selecting which version of themselves show up. It's not necessarily dishonest, it's just the nature of having a public role. Yeah, that makes sense. And so it's like, because, like for me, he's changed my life. The power of now, understanding that I'm not my thoughts, understanding that, or believing, whatever you want to call it, that I am, my identity is something much deeper than just this little person that we see with its thoughts and its mental emotional conditioning and its beliefs that are subject to change and eventually just die out, and then to honestly be forgotten completely, like I never was born. I mean, that is the truth. And if you identify with this, what he calls presence or awareness, which is not his teaching, it's what he teaches, but it's not his. It's a universal truth throughout all of the major branches of religion, and what I ultimately believe to be the source of truth and connection to the divine of whatever this happens to be on our planet or in the universe. So it's not his teaching. Forgot where I was going. But I do think that he's kind of putting on a persona because he wants because like I just said, all that stuff I just said, I learned from him. I'm not saying it's his teaching. I obviously not worshiping the dude. I highly respect him, and he's helped me a lot understanding this stuff. And I think that there is a pressure that he feels, I would imagine, to be that example for others now that he's gotten all this content out. And it reminds me of the thing that he said. Eckhart Tolle, after he had his, because he had mental health issues up until like what, his late 20s or something. And then he had this pretty much a cosmic shift where he woke up one day or realized that, like, is there two of me? Like he was saying, like, he realized that, like, these thoughts that I have, I'm not the thoughts. So what am I? Am I the watcher? And then from that point, he just identified and sort of tapped in and became put his attention as the watcher of everything in his experience, kind of, detaching yourself from the worldly comings and goings, and which is what ultimately creates, excuse me, pretty much all of our suffering. So I'm wondering, and then I say that because after he had that breakthrough, that realization, he said he was like going months of pure peace and just pure consciousness, and he just felt so deeply alive. He was enlightened, basically, is what he was feeling. And then he started trying to teach other people. He started teaching other people. He would do it in little groups, 2 to 3 people or 4 people at a time. And then he was saying something about, like, use me. Like he wanted this message to get out because he felt like it was just so damn valuable to other folks. And he prayed. Yeah, here. Eckhart Tolle has shared a very specific story about the moment of surrender, though it didn't happen as a formal prayer in the traditional sense. According to his account, it happened while he was sitting in a small empty country church, okay, in Somerset, England. At that time, he had been teaching for a few years, but only to small groups of people. While sitting in the silence of that church, he felt a sudden, spontaneous impulse from within. Well, I don't know why I did that smirk. I guess I just thought that maybe, I don't know. Now I'm looking at him through a lens of, like, everything could be doctored up, which isn't fair to him because there is an inner wisdom. If you do get quiet, things come to you, and if you just listen, you do have these intuitive thoughts and feelings arise. And then he said he spoke the words "use me," and I'd like acceleration, please. Wow. So Tolle describes this as a moment of conscious listening. Within a few weeks of that request, he felt an inexplicable powerful urge to leave England and move to the west coast of North America. He moved to Vancouver with no money and no clear plan. It was there, while sitting on park benches, that he began writing The Power of Now. Yeah, pretty crazy story. Yeah, he differentiates egoic wanting. So it's a fascinating distinction between, in Tolle's view, the acceleration he experienced wasn't something his ego, like just the person, could have handled or planned. He differentiates egoic wanting from universal alignment, or what he sometimes calls right action. I think that's a term in Buddhism, if I'm not mistaken. What is right action in Buddhism? Yes, right action, or Samakamanta in Buddhism, is the fourth factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. Yeah, there's something called the Eightfold Path. Without going down too much rabbit hole, because that's an entirely different thing. It's focusing on ethical conduct to minimize harm to oneself and others. It entails abstaining from 3 main unethical actions: killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, acting as a foundation for a peaceful, compassionate life. So living through right action is being aligned with being a good person, being aligned with the good of the universe and what wants to come out of you naturally rather than forcing, or through egoic wanting rather than, greed and I want to be powerful and I want to make it, or I want to be famous, I want to be rich, doing this for me and my family. Like that's from a place of ego, from ego, from I want resources, fame, to be better, to be something more than what I am currently, rather than what he says, universal alignment, which would be doing it because it feels as though this is what wants to come through this form. He had these great experiences of being present and at home with the universe and being at peace. And those feelings that he has, he wanted to share with other people. And he wanted them to be able to experience this too, because he's like, that's the beginning of the power of now. Everyone is sitting on this treasure chest of gold. He says, like, there's a beggar who's begging for money, sitting on this box. And the beggar, he's asking for stuff every single day. And one of the guys that walks by is like, is there anything in your box? And he's like, no, it's just some old box I sit on, dude. Give me some freaking money or some food. And then he's like, no, just look in the box. Turns out it was in the box, and the story was gold. And he's saying that everyone has this divine capability within them to be at peace and to enjoy their lives and to be healthily detached so much more. And if you can discover that, if you can tap into that, the feelings you have experienced, because I've had glimpses, I've learned a lot of this stuff, and I can tap into that. I definitely can't do it for as long as he can, but for about 10 to 15 minute intervals, I can reach that peace if I try. And there's no better feeling. There is no better feeling than not needing anything to be different in this present moment, for thoughts to have stopped completely, and it's like you're not even a person anymore. And that sounds insane, but if you get quiet and still and you just kind of feel, you just feel this sense of aliveness and just of being, and all problems go away. There is no stress. There's no one there to experience it. It's just this isness. And if you've never felt this feeling, what I'm saying to you will not make sense. It's going to sound like I'm crazy. And it's because when you are in that state, there is no person. There's no concept. So you can't think about this. You can't conceptualize it and like, okay, I see what you're saying. You can't do that, because then that's thinking. That's within the person. And this is beyond that. So it's the hardest thing to teach, to understand, to experience. But once you do, you want to keep going back there. Yeah, so for him, this universal alignment rather than from the ego, because he was in line with just being and being aware of his thoughts, not identifying with them. He was what he calls going from right action. He was living through right action, being aligned with the universe rather than selfish desires. So when TOL said, use me, he wasn't asking for fame or for a career. He was just offering himself as the vessel for a flow that was already happening. Like, I'm already present, I'm already teaching, I'm coming from this place of not from egoic desire and wanting things to be a certain way. I just want to share this message and use me, come through me into the world to help spread this to others. The desire arises out of a state of already feeling whole rather than trying to fill that hole. The desire arises out of a state of already feeling whole rather than trying to fill a hole. All right, so we're going to get into that then. So for me, I like teaching. I like learning this stuff. I like learning. I like using this recording and writing as kind of my vehicle for my own healing and to keep my brain from being as completely scattered and crazy as it normally is. That's what I like to do. With that, I have ever since I have become more mentally fit, you could say, as a person was very anxious, bouts of depression, obsessive cycles, and worrying about different parts of my body. Like I had big health anxiety, all the different things. And to finally get some relief from that through meditation. Just 1 second, I need to get my work laptop turned on. I got my stand-up meeting, a morning meeting we have at 9:30 every morning. I got to get my laptop on. Yeah, coming from a place of being in this mental hell, literally. I mean, just my brain just sucking, and I just didn't like who I was. I hated how I didn't even, you know what? I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't say that because I didn't know any better. It got to the point where with certain obsessive cycles and tailspins and rock bottoms where it's just like, dude, I cannot keep living like this. I needed help. I needed help. I was desperate to feel better. Ever since I was like 6 years old, I've had mental health issues, and I was like, enough. And so I found meditation, and that was my aha moment. Like not like Eckhart. I mean, everyone has their own story, but like Eckhart, and I felt so much better being able to watch my own thoughts and knowing I didn't have to react to them, and having these mindful tools transformed who I was. And it was like I could exhale for the first time in my life and not be in a constant state of fear. And I wanted to share that. Before that, I had thoughts of becoming a teacher anyhow because I like teaching. I would like to think I'm a relatively compassionate person, and I like helping others, and I love the sound of my own voice and hearing myself talk. And if I could help people with mental health stuff that I enjoyed hearing myself talk, I mean, that's the way to go. Having said all that, once I started doing this writing stuff, I would write down notes of things I figured out, learned about with mental health, and there's like the writing and speaking was an extension of that meditation. It was another vehicle or acceleration of my own kind of healing or gaining perspective and insight. Something sneaky came up, and this is actually what I wanted to talk about today. I'm just getting all the apps on my computer ready to go. And that is feeling as if there is a hole that I'm trying to fill. And ever since I started recording and trying to make YouTube videos, and I've tried writing, I have like half a book written. Seriously. I spent like 6 months diagramming out each chapter and all the subtopics within each chapter. And I basically been working on how to express myself and get my ideas out there into the world through this idea of wanting it to be good. And if I can get this stuff out there and it's good, then maybe I can quit my job and do this full time. And wouldn't that be amazing? And it's like, I think I have this purpose. Maybe that's it. Maybe if I start, maybe that's why I was meant to struggle all these years, is so that I could eventually get better myself and then teach it and spread it with the world, and then I could be rich, and then I've made it, and that's my life's purpose. But that's not really doing it from a place of feeling whole. I think with this example from Eckhart, that's a place of egoic wanting. And to prove that even further, I have a fine example that comes up every time. So I just started doing this podcast format uh, last week. I've made like 2 or 3 episodes. I've published one. The other two are scheduled to be released, whatever. And I surely thought, like, okay, now that I have this new system, um, a video format like this is going to do it. This is it. It does feel right. Like, just talking like this, it does feel much more aligned with something natural for me. So I was excited because a lot of the times when I try to make these YouTube videos, it felt like real work. It felt very grindy. It felt stressful. And this just feels like letting it pour out. So I was excited. I felt like this is it. This is what's going to make a difference. This is what's going to catapult me to get out of my current job right before we have our first baby and all that. This is what's going to do it. I created a thumbnail, like the picture on the YouTube video yesterday. Spent time making the template. It felt good. It felt like, damn, this is it. I'm good. Woo, we working now. And then I checked it last night. Like I checked the amount of views it has, the video, and it has 7 views. And I'll be lying to you if I said that didn't in some way hurt. You just feel like I just felt like I felt so good about this, like this podcast format. Like this is it. Like I find this is what I'm supposed to do. This was the format all along, and these 3 or 4 years of trying to figure all this shit out. No. Now we got it. Now it's gonna be smooth sailing, and we're gonna go to where we want. 7 views. And then these shorts, you can extract shorts from the long form view. So if you have like a video on YouTube that's like 10 minutes, right? They have software now where you can automatically take out shorts or the reels, the short form, scrolly ones like on Instagram and TikTok and all that. And I put those on YouTube, and that video only has 196, which sounds good, but in the world of shorts, a lot of them can get way more than that. The point is that I'm focused on the results, forgetting that why I do this in the first place. And this has been the hardest lesson for me to learn, and it's something that I'm still dealing with now, clearly. Because last night it kind of breaks your heart a little bit, and it makes you think, why am I doing this? What is the point of this? It's like embarrassing. Like you feel like when I'm doing the work, it feels great. It feels like, yeah, this is good. And I'm feeling good. I love it. And then I publish it. And then you look and you see, wah, wah, nobody's looking. And then it's like, oh shit, let me just go watch the short. Because the truth of the matter is this is terrible to say, but the shorts, because they're automatically created with this software from your long form video, I didn't even watch it. I just published it because I'm just like, ugh, I hate doing like the editing stuff. So I'm just like, here, if that was from the video, I trust you. And then I watched it, and it sucked. Like I wouldn't want to watch that. Like just looking at me, it was so cringy. And it was like I was trying so hard. Ugh. So I was asking, once again, I was asking AI about this. Man, I probably do need to get that in check. I was asking AI about this of like, oh, like I've been watching my videos back and I'm like, damn, they do suck. And then they said that was actually a good thing because then it means that you have something to improve. Like you can see that you could get better. Like because if you liked it, if you did something and you thought it was really good, like even after you're done recording, like in the moment it feels good. But then afterwards you watch it back and because you watch other people's YouTube videos. Like for me, I've been really into Tim Dillon, comedian, podcaster. That dude is hilarious. He's brilliant. Can't get enough of that guy. I was watching his stuff, and then I went and watched this short, and then in comparison, I'm just like, oh my god, like no wonder. The point in saying that is that it was saying that, like, because you're aware that your shit sucks, you can go up from here. If you thought your shit was good after watching it back, then it's just like, I don't know what's wrong. Like, this is good. This is a good video. But no, because I know that it's not good, it says that my taste is ahead of my skill. So it's like, I know what looks good. I'm just not there yet. And to get there, we got to get the reps in. And to get the reps in, I need to be able to do this a lot. I remember even Tim Dillon saying that. To get good at anything, you have to do it consistently. You have to do it often. And that's true for anything. If you want to get better at golf, at computer programming, learning a language, playing the violin, or being a cat whisperer, you have to practice and put the reps in. And for me to put the reps in, I need to quit worrying about what's going to be a good video, what's going to get views, and then somehow not worrying about the result, and just do this because it's what I like to do. And I think with time, if I continue to do that, like what I'm doing right now, I'm talking for me, clearly. I mean, there's sort of an agenda, but not really. I'm just letting whatever comes out, and in this video, I don't give a shit what I say. And I think it needs to come from that place, and it needs to come from a selfish, that sounds wrong. It needs to come from a place of just what I need in the moment. Because that's what honestly is sustainable, and that's what keeps me coming back. And that's why that's why I love this writing stuff, and that's why I love this speaking stuff, and that's why I got into this to begin with, is for my own healing and sanity. In trying to have a persona like Eckhart Tolle, or trying to make good videos, and trying to make content that transforms my life and changes my family's life, is from definitely from a place of egoic wanting. So maybe for now, just working on my own healing, just working on talking about whatever I need to talk about, is what's best right now. Because I have a full-time job, and to be quite honest, to make videos that you think are good, and to worry about whether it's going to get views, and to hope that one day, and to have like your life mission of needing this thing to be complete, of needing to feel whole, is what creates so much extra suffering from me. And it makes looking at the view count of 7 views so hard to stomach, and breaks my heart, because you're putting your sense of worth in an outcome. And it's not ironic, because there's a reason. So in a previous episode, I talked about that specifically. I talked about the fruits of one's actions, and how in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the spiritual books in Hinduism, they one of the big things is, what's it called? I'm going to butcher the name. It's like basically saying doing things without worrying about the fruit or the result. Gandhi was famous for saying, renounce and enjoy. So basically, whatever work it is that you do it from a place of enjoyment, and of detaching from the results, and not making it personal or about yourself or about the ego. And if you can do that, you can truly enjoy your work. So that's something that I'm going to have to keep coming back to, because it keeps coming up. I think over so many years, I have built up this idea and this just belief of needing to get somewhere ahead, always feeling empty, because the whole is needing that validation, that external validation, that result, and needing to get this outcome that hasn't happened yet. And I think reframing this, coming from a place of just talking because that's what makes me feel whole instead. So we're gonna play with that. We're gonna sit with that. I need to go. It is 9:30. I'm late for my stand-up meeting. See y'all next time.